welcome to Embellish the Story. I'm so glad you joined me today, and I wanted to do something a little different and just invite you into my craft room and let's have a little tour. I cleaned up on Sunday and I thought this is a good time, since I'm clean for company, to invite everybody in to see where I create. So I'm going to just do a quick overview of the room. If that's all you'd like to see, it's just a really quick little overview of where I create. And then if you'd like to see more detail, then you can just stick with me and we'll look at more detail about where I do things and how I store things. I love when you guys share your videos of your creative spaces. You've inspired me so much. And so many of the ideas that you're going to see in here have come from you guys. So here is my room where I just like to put my girly things that inspire me and then store all of my craft items. And this is my little getaway. Everything in this room has either been thrifted, a couple of pieces I've gotten from antique stores, and a couple of pieces are from yard sales, but I'm constantly looking for really good deals on items to put in here. So this room is constantly a work in progress. And this kind of just gives you an overview of what's going on in here. So just to give you a little more detail, if you would like to see what I store my crafting things in, thought I would just show you a few things, because it's always fun to get ideas and see what other people do to store all of our craft items. I bought this L-shaped desk on Facebook Marketplace. It was probably the best purchase I made for in here, because the L shape gives me a lot of room to have everything handy right at my fingertips. I tried to make my crafting storage pretty, but very serviceable, and keep it very handy. I keep some appliques that I can just grab and use on that little pedestal. I have more, but that's just a little sample. And then I call this my precious bits jar, where I can just grab, and I'm constantly going into this little biscuit jar. All of that I got at thrift stores. Silver is very plentiful in our thrift stores here, so I have bought a lot of it because it's just easy to find. So here are some of my sparkly bits, some things I have thrifted over the years, old jewelry, old bracelets, things like that. And those are handy for me to use. This little egg contains little tiny bits. So that's where I keep teeny tiny bits. And then there's a sugar scoop I've shown you before that's great to hold glue. This is where I just have started keeping things that I'm using to collage with, and they just stay handy on my desk. And then over here are my scissors, my inks, my glues, my glue gun. This is where I keep things handy that I'm working on. So right now, here's a stack of things that I've been working on. This is a little catch-all, and this is where I keep my cheesecloth. These are really cute upcycled little cans, and I got them from Etsy, and I will try to find where I purchased them and send you to her shop. She's super precious. This is where I keep my paper collections I've been working on. So I've been doing a lot with Pink Silk Atelier by Ooh La La Vintage Treasures. Here are some buttons that I keep handy on my desk. And then that's a little, this is precious, that's a little glitter shaker. And I got that from Molly Thimble. I have several things from Molly Thimble in here. She's on Etsy. She makes precious things, and I'll leave you her link. She makes precious things that I love to have in my craft room. So there's my printer that's very grouchy and always giving me trouble. And then below it, in this bottom drawer, I just keep my print cartridges, and then I keep my charms in that top drawer. Here is an old sewing machine drawer. It's antique, and I put some laces in there. So all of these cream and white laces are handy. And then I just keep my tools here. So they're easy to get when I need them. And then there's some things in here like, these are templates I use, some washi tape, some hole punches, some of my clips that I use. And then here is where I keep my laptop when I'm not using it. Some tags that I collage. This is definitely my junk drawer. It has, I don't know what all is in there. Baby wipes, a flashlight, because one time the power went out when I was up here. So I wanted to have a flashlight to have more light than my phone. And then in that bottom drawer I have paper, and paper down here with a pillow in case my back starts to feel fatigued. So I keep things handy also right behind me on this shelf. And I got this shelf at Target, and I ordered 2 decorative bins here. And on the right side there, those are my Ooh La La Vintage Treasures current Crystals and Pearls Kit Club kits. So I know the current kit that I'm working on. I keep that in there. And then this one is just full of pink scraps. There's some aqua scraps in there too, but I know that's where most of my pink scraps are. The next shelf is where I house most of my milk glass. I try to store things in it that I just want to keep handy. These are sparkly bits. And that is a beautiful treasure box from Doreen at Ooh La La Vintage Treasures that she packed full of so many goodies. It was part of an incredible Happy Meal. Doreen was so precious to send me that. Such a gift of love. Thank you so much, Doreen. On the next shelf, I have more bits that are just junk jewelry bits that I've thrifted over the years. I always look for these when I go into thrift stores. I actually found that pretty cameo. Isn't that pretty? And then I keep my larger flowers in this little cloche. Some more buttons. That's my favorite beaded trim. I just love that. And then this gorgeous journal is from Carla at Journals from the Heart. She's my friend in California. She surprised me with this journal in the spring, and I am going to do a video on this to show you how incredibly talented Carla is. It is just gorgeous. So this is really a lot of utility stuff where I keep my flat back pearls and my flat back rhinestones in here. My colored inks here. Things like ball pens and cameos and washi tape. Things like that in here. Then I just keep some extra glues and some of my stickles. And then handy, I keep my papers. Excuse my hand. I'm trying to keep my hand out of here for y'all. I'm trying to keep my paper collections organized, and I put them in these little envelope pouches. So like here, I don't have that one labeled, but usually I keep them labeled. Like this is Fall 2022 from Ooh La La Vintage Treasures. And this is her Ballet Dreams kit. And they Velcro shut, and I can just keep each collection separate. So these stay handy and organized that way. There's some extra sheet music there I can grab. All right, if we just scan around, that's where you enter the craft room. So when I enter, this is what I see. And if I go this way, I have my dress form, and bless her heart, she got stained during the move. She did not make it unscathed. Then I tried to clean it, and I made it worse. So she is just hanging in there. That's a dress I got in an antique shop, and I loved it, and I put it on her. This is an Armoire. I got it at a yard sale for $50, and it was stained. I still need to put the rest of the handles on. I painted it. That's where I keep my TV, so I can craft along with you guys up here. I love vintage christening gowns, so there's one of my favorites that I keep there. That just stores boxes for shipping journals. It's got some hat boxes that I have not incorporated into the room. Extra glue, my 12 by 12 papers, things like that I keep in there. This is a little desk. If I ever sew, this is where I will put my sewing machine. And on the right side here, and that drawer is where I keep things when I've listed them in my shop. And so they stay on that side until they find their home. They're empty right now because I don't have anything listed. On the left side, this drawer, I know it has my doilies. I got that sweet love at an antique shop. And then here are flowers that come off of some of the wedding gowns that I thrifted. This one, Doreen gave me. She has given me so many beautiful things that inspire me in my craft room. And then there's just a little basket full of vintage tablecloths. Sometimes I come up here and I get them and I use them. Some of them I have cut up. It just depends. I mean, I use them on my table. So here is my secretary. I got this at an antique store. And I looked at it for a couple of years, and I think the little man felt sorry for me. So he sold this to me for about $100, and it was already painted. It had the blue inside, and my intentions have always been to paint it pink on the inside, but I still haven't done that yet. Up here on that right side hat box is my beaded and rhinestone fabric. And then this beautiful banner here was a gift to me. It was such a surprise from Marie at Cupcake Pearls and Lace, and I've enjoyed that for so many years. She does beautiful work, and I just love it, Marie. Thank you again. Here are some things I've made, some things other people have made that inspire me. Here's a journal from Lene at Grace and Lace Journals. I purchased from her shop. It is gorgeous. I love collecting vintage shoes. So there is a pair of antique shoes, and then just some more goodies. This was my grandmother's engagement ring box. That's a treasure of mine. This is one of Marie at Cupcake Pearls and Lace, one of her little journals. It is adorable. Oh, let me show you this. This gorgeous heart, the sun is right on it. It is from Doreen. It was part of that incredible Happy Meal. It was truly incredible Happy Meal. You can see, this is what I see when I look out. We live in a pasture, so there are a few houses in this pasture area. That's my neighbors. Here is the secretary when I open it. So it mostly houses projects I've completed and that are ready to be listed in my shop. So that's mostly what's in here. These drawers are old and they like to stick, but here are some of my fabric, or these are my fabrics, and then my eyelets and my Battenbergs. More buttons. If I see buttons, then I will always buy them. Oh, sorry. And then like this drawer, it's full of these are antique laces I found at antique stores that I need to organize, and then some stamps I found, and some sewing paper, old napkins, things like that. Okay, so this corner is like a sitting area, and I keep my collection of vintage purses here. If it's really girly, I basically keep it in this room. My husband does think this is a very neat, peaceful room, but he doesn't want to live like this. He doesn't want to live girly in our main house. So all my girly stuff is up here. That was my grandfather's chair. It was in bad shape. I painted it white, and then I draped it with doilies and some sheets. That print is a sheet. And there's a vintage tablecloth that's crocheted there, draped there to make it look shabby. And then here is one of my first journals that I did. Okay, so over here to the right is just a little shelf that I got at an antique store too, and they were actually closing their booth. And I asked the people how much they wanted for this, and they said, if you will take it home, you can have it. So I brought this home with me, and I housed some things. Those are my favorite books, Little House on the Prairie and Anne of Green Gables. These are some of my creations that I have just kept. And then some of my textile spools with laces. All right, so this piece of furniture, this is where I do my filming. So you can see my phone holder and my ring light. This was the only piece of furniture I had to craft on for a very long time. I started crafting in my dining room. Then I moved to my son's bedroom and a space in it after he moved out. And then we totally redid that room into a room for my granddaughter. So then I moved this little desk, which was all I had, down to the master bedroom in a corner. And I've done some of my best crafting there. I've not always had a craft space like this. It has definitely changed over the years. So what I do is I just take everything off this when I'm ready to film and set up my camera. This is from Carla, from Journals from the Heart. That's a treasure. That's my latest journal. This is a journal I'm working on. And then these are things that make me happy. That is part of that Happy Mail from Doreen. This is a handmade clutch. It is stunning. It has so many treasures inside. I've shown that on video. It's just amazing. I could not believe it when I opened it. Thank you for this treasure, Doreen. Here's one of Marie's incredible doily journals. It's just amazing. So I keep it there. I want to make one of those. That's on my list of things to make, and it's very intimidating to me to think about making that. There is a bridal veil that came one of the bridal dresses I thrifted. That's another Lolly Thimble creation, that dress form. Doreen made me this digital with my name on it. I love it, and I framed it. And then this is a little holder I keep my paper flowers in that I craft with. So you see, I try to use pretty things that also are useful. This is just the top of this wall. That is my mom's dress when she was a little girl. This is an Amazon pouch that I covered, and then all of these trims and sparkly bits are just pinned on here, and they can all be removed. So those are reusable, and I keep my coffee dyed papers in here. There's another creation from Molly Thimble. It's a gorgeous heart. Just gorgeous. I have ordered lots of things from her. These are vintage boxes that, well, they weren't vintage. I got them at Tuesday morning, I think. And they did not match my decor, so I just collaged them with Ruffles and Roses digital set by Ooh La La Vintage Treasures. I love the way they turned out. This larger box houses some of my colored papers and like my original ephemera that I find, things like that. And these boxes hold, this pink one holds appliques that have color, and then this one holds appliques that are beige and cream. And then this little stand I thrifted, and I put some laces on that, and then some appliques there. I try to make my room so it's kind of like a little shop, and I can just shop for things I want to use. And that's really come in handy for me to not spend so much money, because I'm not constantly digging through bins. Things are kind of at arm's length. All right, so one of the favorite parts of this room that I've never had is storage, and I want to show you this closet. This is a storage closet where I house all of my thrifted clothing, my wedding gowns. Here is my container that I use for shipping. I just roll that to my desk when it's time to ship something. My pinks are kept in here. So these are pink trims and laces. And then my beige and creams are kept in this one. So that's how I organize those. That is some of my shipping bags. These are things I don't use as much. And then these are things I've packed up that I really need to de-stash a lot of this. That's my de-stash bins. And then this is where I keep like paper doilies, glassine bags, things like that. So that's a little tour of my craft room. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging in there with me on this video. I hope you have a space that you can craft in. I think that's the key. It's always been in this journey, I've just had to go with what's going on in my life and the space that I have, and find me a little space where I can just create things and get away into my creative space. So I wish you all a good day. I hope you have a blessed week. Always remember to embellish the story, and I'll be crafting in here with you soon. Bye-bye.